Hello, IP friends. Welcome to hashtag IP series with your favorite podcast host, Rita Amurichinda. If you are a first time listener, welcome to hashtag IP series. I hope you find my podcast interesting. I hope you learn something, and don't forget to subscribe and favorite my podcast so you don't miss out on any juicy episode. And trust me, guys, this year is going to be fab. And for my returning listeners, I just want to say I love you guys. I appreciate you guys for always coming back to listen to my podcast. Also motivating me to keep doing this. I mean, it's not easy, but yeah. Thank you guys for coming back again to listen to this podcast. Don't forget to also share your favorite episode with your family and friends and your contacts. So yeah, what do we do here? What do we talk about? Mostly recent cases and development or IP events. They could be copyright, trademark, patent, industrial design, trade secret, geographical indication, and plant variety. And for today's episode, I will be focusing on the architectural sector and a little bit of the food industry. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. So I'm just going to read out her question. So she goes, please, I'd like your opinion on this. If it's okay by you. So there's a 2D restaurant in South Korea where this design was clearly copied from. Are there any legal implications, or because the protection doesn't cover this territory, it may not apply? So I had seen pictures of the 2D restaurant in Abuja, and the thought also crossed my mind, but then I didn't want to push it, in time, so people don't read it as, oh, Amri has come again with the IP series and or whatnot. So after I had the conversation with her on Twitter, I decided to do my own research, and I found out that the 2D design was not only viral in South Korea, but viral in Japan as well, and those are the only two countries. And I did see any comments about the 2D design or for their cafes, basically. So I'm just going to read out her question. So she goes, please, I'd like your opinion on this. If it's okay by you. So there's a 2D restaurant in South Korea where this design was clearly copied from. Are there any legal implications, or because the protection doesn't cover this territory, it may not apply? So I had seen pictures of the 2D restaurant in Abuja, and the thought also crossed my mind, but then I didn't want to push it, in time, so people don't read it as, oh, Amri has come again with the IP series and or whatnot. So after I had the conversation with her on Twitter, I decided to do my own research, and I found out that the 2D design was not only viral in South Korea, but viral in Japan as well, and those are the only two countries. And I did see any comments about the 2D design or for their cafes, basically. So today's case was inspired by one of my followers on Twitter. She had reached out to me last year, wanting to make inquiries about an architectural design she had seen online that was basically trending. So her handle is at Chuki_Bunny. So she sent me a message. I had promised her I was going to do a Twitter thread about it, I think the next day or 2 days later, but I did not live up to my promise. I am sorry, Chuki, if you are listening to this. So basically she shared a tweet that had pictures of a 2D um cafe somewhere in Abuja, Nigeria. I wanted to know what my IP views were. Okay, so this is like the podcast version. I always like to do a Twitter podcast and a newsletter as much as I can. Um, but yeah, so for the podcast version, this is my response to um her question: is the replica of the viral 2D South Korean cafe in Nigeria, can it be considered to be an infringement? I mean, if you take a good look at the name of the restaurant or the cafe is called Sketch in Abuja. Someone already did her own review as a food blogger, but coming from the intellectual property aspect, legal implications of if the protected designs in Nigeria. Well, basically, we know that intellectual property are territorial in nature. However, in an event where a design or a form of IP, maybe a trademark, is considered to have um, some sort of reputation or goodwill, then maybe talks about infringement might arise. Then there's also the issue on geographical indication, um, which basically focuses on the characteristics of a product or a service from a particular region. Um, but when you're looking at the GI aspect, that's the geographical indication aspect, you have to be very strategic about that. There's also the trademark elements to it. Is the monochrome feature eligible for trademark protection? Um, so this when I first saw the 2D replica in Nigeria, pictures pictures, guys. I kind of thought that it was going to be difficult and a bit complex, because um if there wasn't any, I mean, there hasn't been any social media color, and for each of these territories there is a unique element to each of these cafes. So I'm going to list them out as we keep having our conversation. But so far, there's been no social media call out on the similarities by the owner of the design. The design is, like I stated, a monochrome design, so it's more like a black and white sketched. So you're doing a little bit of animations in your design. Um, so before I continue, I would appreciate if you guys can check out my second article being published by the Trademark Lawyer magazine on sorry guys, on social media colored, basically. So I just wrote I think about 700 or maybe 800 word article on the you know disadvantages and issues that may arise from social media call outs, especially in this digital era. So I'm putting that out there because I had made reference to the fact that this particular Vera 2D replica, no one has done any social media call out because maybe they don't really have time. But the article features conversation with regards to intellectual property rights that exist in the digital era and why IP owners, especially in Nigeria, would prefer a social media call out over related disputes, resolving their dispute via litigation or even opting for alternative dispute resolution mechanism. So that article was published on the 21st of December. But yeah, thank you guys for checking it out. I'm sure a lot of you are going to read it and learn something because I did get good feedbacks from people. Now the next question is, are the 2D designs similar? I mean, it's a yes and no answer for me. Can the consumers link a brand or a service to that source? That means it identifies the 2D design, and also it functions as a trademark. We know design right basically protects the visual appearance of a product, which could be in form of a combination of colors, two or three colors. In this case, black and white. um the next question will now be, would consumers confuse one for the other? Would they assume that the 2D viral design in South Korea has opened another cafe in Nigeria or Japan, as the case was? I'll leave you guys to answer that, because IP already is territorial in nature. Also, creatives and innovators can enjoy a multi-layered form of IP protection. So now the 2D monochrome cafe design could enjoy design right protection, especially if it's new and not subject to any morality clause. You can also enjoy protection as a trademark, because trademark protects name, word, signs, colors. Color is basically, as a trademark, is considered to be a non-traditional trademark, type of trademark basically. Then you have the copyright aspect in terms of protection of artistic work as an architectural work. So yeah, those are like the first three that comes to mind. So while recording this, I just got a notification that someone, not someone, but I do know him, David. Shout out to David Adambo for favoriting my podcast. I'm so excited right now. But yeah, let's keep it, keep subscribing, guys. I keep favoriting my podcast. Woof! I think I'm flushed a bit, but yeah. So moving on. For instance, like the 2D cafe in South Korea, which has now become a tourist site, thereby bringing in visitors to South Korea. I love, so if you watch South Korean series, I think the one of the most mentioned place in South Korean series is Seoul, and I would love to visit South Korea one day. I hope I do that soon. Also there's the aspect, the foreign direct investment aspect to it, where the tourists are coming in with their knowledge and mingling with people and the rest of it. So that's another aspect with regards to IP, hospitality, tourism, and then geographical indication as well. So this cafe is located in somewhere, so it's called Cafe Monochrome, located near Jalan Basa MRT. So the architecture can also enjoy copyright protection as a sketch. The building can also enjoy protection. You know, the as protection for the artistic works. So I'm going to read for you guys the Interpretation Act of the Nigerian Copyright Act, what artistic works mean. So it says it includes, irrespective of artistic quality, any of the following works or works similar there to: paintings, drawing, etching, lithographs, woodcuts, engraving and print, maps, plan and diagram, works of sculptures, photographs not comprised in a cinematographic film, work of architecture in the form of building models, and works of artistic craftsmanship, and not so pictorial, woven tissues, and articles of applied handicraft and industrial art. So guys, you can also check out my blog post on can a building enjoy IP protection, to be able to understand the architectural element and artistic elements that copyright can actually protect at the end of the day. Now, from the design right aspect, like I mentioned earlier, you're looking at the visual appearance, the color combination. In this case would be the monochrome design, which is a 2D optical illusion, which makes customers feel as though they have crossed dimensions into a comic book. So it was said to have been inspired by a South Korean hit TV show um, um, by Lee Young Suk and Hanu Hyu. Oh God, apologies if I didn't pronounce that well. But each of these IP elements that I mentioned, so from the copyright to the trademark to the design rights, all have a term of duration ranging from 5 to 50 years, as the case may be. Now, with regards to location aspect, geographical indication protection, you also explore the intellectual property rights in relation to tourism, hospitality, and also that this this 2D cafe is located in Yeoman Dong district in Seoul, and also um it's considered to be the most famous coffee shop in South Korea. I don't like coffee, but I will bet that I will be open to going there just for sightseeing basically. Now, which brings us back home. Now, can we say the Nigerian version um is an infringement? I don't want to be sentimental. I do not want to be sentimental while answering this question, so I'll do my best to be very honest. Okay, so I'm going to be, you know, as unbiased as I can be. So while I was trying to, come up with my research, I came across this post which said that the 2D cafe that existed in Tokyo was used for the Sailor Moon musical restaurant, and also it's a cafe for both Pokemon franchise and the Square Enix Cafe video games realms. Plus, they get limited time pop-up venues like Rama, like Ranma. Yeah, so you can check the post at www.japantoday.com. It's tagged Tokyo's amazing 2D cafe looks like an illustration, but it's an actual restaurant you can eat. It's written by Casey Basil for Sora News 24, published September 3rd, 2019. Yeah, I just had to go through all of that. But yeah, the similarities in the trademark, in famous design, is the white floor, the tables, the chairs being monochrome, the two-tone furnitures. So we put a side-by-side picture of the sketch cafe in Abuja and the 2D cafe in Tokyo and the 2D cafe in South Korea. And the similarities are, you can notice or see it. So like I said, the floors in monochrome, the chairs and the table, also the chairs are usually white, then the sketches on the wall are monochrome as well, so it's like white and black, just to give it this artistic feel. Two-tone furnitures, okay. I think I'm repeating myself again, but yeah. So another thing I will be discussing is the IP element. I think I've mentioned bits of it, but then with a growing franchise, which is good for business and IP owners who wish to commercialize, their design, a good consideration will be, for merchandising. So the 2D cafe can decide to create merch in monochromes to, maybe small miniatures in the shape of the cafes and what is inside from their menus. Then it also gives them the opportunity to promote tourism and hospitality. There are other cafes as well. So there's a 2D cafe in Yona Dong 239 hyphen 20. You also have it's also located in South Korea, and also it went viral too in 2018, and it's located in a brick building in Mapua-gu in Seoul, which began business sometime in 2016, 2017. So you look at the timeline. So 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, the 2D cafe is always springing up in one city or the other, and then it goes viral because of its famous monochrome feature, and then the fact that it makes you feel like you're in a comic book, or you've crossed into a comic book dimension. So all of those things should be taken, or can be taken, into consideration as well. Now, according to another publication by Forbes, it says the cafe shares a unique design concept created by its founder and owner, Yoon Jun Lee, who also owns YND 223-14, which is much bigger, then which is much bigger basically. So it's more like they moved from a smaller space to a bigger space because of how popular they became, and because they also wanted to stick to the concept of the monochrome 2D feel. They decided to move somewhere bigger. The IP implication. So, should you fancy a viral design, I think it's best that you reach out to the owner of the original design, get a written authorization in form of a license. So it's like when you see other franchises springing up in cities, from KFC to KFC, Burger King, PNZ, all these franchises. So you just get a franchise rights and set up in Nigeria as well. Um, you know, and be paying your royalties at the end. While IP might be territorial in nature, the reputation and goodwill of a brand will always come through for them. So we look at the case of Kanye West, whose Yeezy brand was infringed. I think it was in Japan or China, one of those Asian countries. And what saved him at the end of the day was his goodwill and reputation. So sometimes you have, so those I consider, or such people are considered to be IP trolls. They wait for you to go viral and then boom, they take advantage. They're more like cyber squatters, but in the IP sense, where they're just waiting for. So there's another live case, will be the PS5, Sony PS5 case, and one Indian guy. So he went ahead to register PS5 in India, and when PS5 was to launch in India, they could not do that because there was a pending trademark application. But then party settled that, of course, which I love. And I mean, ADR, I'm all up for ADR, but then again, we need this precedent out there to deter and stop people from copying and using other people's creative works and innovative works without their permission. There's also the thin line between copying. There's also a thin line between copying and inspiration, which leads you to, commit an infringement. So you're like, oh, I was inspired. So I mean, so you see a lot of things every day, and maybe one or two just remain in your subconscious, and then when you're like, okay, I want to start up something, and then before you know, you're bringing out those elements that you thought were very unique and stood out for you, and also replicating it in your own idea at the end of the day. And then so it's just like this. The lady Tricky reached out to me asking that question, because when I saw it the first time, I was like, but then, like I said, I didn't want to make a fuss about it. So I just put it aside, and I was like, okay, I guess it's one of those things that happen. But then you see this because it keeps happening daily in Nigeria, where people don't take intellectual property seriously. So you're seeing similar brand names. That's a trademark, guys. You're seeing similar logos. That's a trademark. Similar businesses, all those kind of things. Movie scripts, songs, inventions, you name it. So now back to our Nigerian law. So I'm going to focus more on the Nigerian aspect. I read out the interpretations of what architectural works are defined in Nigeria copyright law. That's section 55. Then section 6, which focuses on the rights, that's the exclusive rights of an IP owner to control his copyrighted work in Nigeria. So for um artistic work, you have the right to reproduce the work in any material form. You have the right to also publish the work. You have the right to include the work in a cinematograph film, to make an adaptation of the work, do in relation to an adaptation of the work in subparagraph 1 to 3, which could be reproduce the work, publish the work, include the work in a cinematograph film. So those are the exclusive rights that are granted to artistic works in Nigeria. Now, I would like us to look at the definition of what adaptation is, because it's more. It seems like this 2D design was adapted from the South Korean viral 2D cafe design and also the Tokyo 2D viral design. So adaptation is said to be the modification of a pre-existing work from one genre of work to another, and consists in altering works within the same genre to make it suitable for different conditions of exploitation, and may also involve altering the composition of the work. So this had a little bit of musical work in it, but because I'm focusing on artistic works, so you find out that artistic work, be it sculptures or architectural work, can be modified to be able to suit whatever we want. So it's like when you want a design of a room and you give an architect, tell an architect, this is what I really want, and he gives you a replica of that. Now, would you consider that replica or modification an infringement? That's the gist. I mean, that's the whole story. So from this my little definition of adaptation, would you say, or is it correct to say that the Abuja 2D monochrome cafe is an adaptation? Please send me voice notes or send me DMs or respond to the Twitter post when you see it. Now we'll go to another section, which is section 12 of the Copyright Act, which focuses on right to claim authorship. Now it says, subsection 1 says, the author of a work in which copyright subsidy has the right to claim authorship of the work in particular, that his authorship be indicated in connection with or any of the acts referred to in section 6, except when the work is included incidentally or accidentally when reporting current events by means of broadcasting. So if you're doing it for broadcasting, it's considered to be fair use here in Nigeria. Fair use. So fair use or fair dealing, depending on the jurisdiction that you are based in. Then paragraph B says, you as the author can object and also seek relief in connection with any distortion, mutilation, or other modification, and any other derogatory action in relation to your work where such action will be or is prejudice to honor, prejudicial to oh my god, I feel embarrassed. Okay, they can take a deep breath with them. Okay, so where such action would be or is prejudicial to his honor or reputation. So does this 2D cafe design in Abuja, does it harm the reputation of the designer, the 2D design in Tokyo or in South Korea? What's the test to determine all of that? Because this focuses mainly on moral rights. So I said, or I've talked about the rights exclusive to an author. You have the economic right to make money from your work through commercialization. You also have the right to state how your work will be used or should be used. So you can seek relief if your work has been distorted, it has been modified, mutilated in a way that it harms your reputation or brings dishonor to your work in question. So another element we'll be looking at is the industrial design element, so section 12 for the Nigerian Patent and Design Act provides that a design right or industrial design is any combination of lines or both or any three-dimensional form, whether or not associated with color, is an industrial design. Now, the question it now asks is, did the creator intend for it to be used as a model? Did the creator of the 2D cafe monochrome optic illusion wanted did he want his design to be a model or a pattern to be multiplied by industrial process, or was it intended solely to obtain technical results? I guess it's the latter. Yeah, to obtain technical results. And eligibility for a registered design, it must be new and not contrary to public order or morality, which I think this design has complied. So, who now has the right to actually register the design? Now, Section 14, Paragraph 2 of the Patent and Design Act Nigeria says that the true creator shall be entitled to be named as such in the register, and the entitlement in question shall not be modified by a contract. So even if you sign a contract that says that I am the designer, yes, I am the designer of the 2D cafe monochrome design, is the person's name that's in the register that will be recognized as the true creator of the design. Yeah, so going forward, before using an IP, whether for inspiration or adaptation or commercial purpose, always do your due diligence, consult with your intellectual property lawyer, get a written consent, authorization, or permission. So, who now has the right to actually register the design? Now, Section 14, Paragraph 2 of the Patent and Design Act Nigeria says that the true creator shall be entitled to be named as such in the register, and the entitlement in question shall not be modified by a contract. So even if you sign a contract that says that I am the designer, yes, I am the designer of the 2D cafe monochrome design, is the person's name that's in the register that will be recognized as the true creator of the design. Yeah, so going forward, before using an IP, whether for inspiration or adaptation or commercial purpose, always do your due diligence, consult with your intellectual property lawyer, get a written consent, authorization, or permission. So when we're talking about architectural works and intellectual property, the architect owns the right, he retains ownership of the IP, and in order for you to use his design, you need to get a license, able to use it to construct the project you wish to do, to expand or alter the project. For instance, this 2D cafe viral monochrome design. So basically, what should architects know about IP? So your architectural design could enjoy trademark protection, copyright protection. You need to understand the concept of trademark. That trademark represents a brand. Is used to endorse a goods or services. For the copyright element, it can, or even for the trademark element, it can prevent other people from photographing or painting your work or displaying your work or showing pictures of it unless you give your consent in that particular design. Also, see your architectural design as intangible asset that can be commercialized, that can be exploited by you to generate revenue for yourself and your heirs or successors in line. Just like our Nigerian Copyright Act provides, the author is the first person who makes the work. So if you as an architect was hired to do an architectural design for a house, for instance, a 2D design, the person who hired you is the owner of that design, subject to a contract being signed. I know a lot of architects don't sign contract, but it's very important you start doing that. And also, you can be restricted from including such designs in your portfolio. You can't come out and say tomorrow, oh, I was the one that actually created this, sensation and the rest of it. for an infringement, if an infringement takes place, you know that it does not necessarily need to require the exact copying, also, but it needs to show that a substantial element or part of the work and a colorable imitation of the work was used to prepare the work in question. So exceptions when it comes to the copyright aspect of architectural works is that taking a photo of the 2D work could be for private use, so you just like it and put it on your phone. So far as person is not commercializing it, you're just making a drawing, you're filming an architectural work, anything that doesn't require you making money from it is not an issue. So what are the remedies? Basically, you can get an injunction in court asking the person to cease and desist from using your 2D monochrome design. It will be in form of money. So you can get damages in form of money. Also, you can get an account of profit. This person has been replicating your designs everywhere. What else? I think that's basically it. So I'm just going to stop here. Bye. But so far, if you had fun listening to me talk about this particular case, do let me know. Share your views as well. If you want a newsletter version of the topic of architectural works and intellectual property, I will do that per request for you guys. I will also need to consult as an architect or a real estate company. To send me an email to ipseriesinfo@gmail.com. Until the next IP series episode, thank you guys for tuning in always, for streaming, for playing, for sharing, for liking. I appreciate you guys. Have a fantastic week. Mwah.